Ooh, can they hear us? Can we be heard?
Us? I think
Tell
we're
us.
being heard. Hello, everyone. Comment if you can hear us. And if
Carol
you heard,
Fitzgerald.
share. Yeah.
Joining with Virginia. Let us know if you can hear us. Write something in the little chat box. Yes, Donna says, yes, we hear you. Beautiful. And you heard share, and we love sharing with you. Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited to bring a lot of books that we are really super psyched about that are coming in the winter and spring 2021 season. So we have a lot of books. I know last time we may have gone over just a teensy bit by 3.5 hours or something nutty like that. We promise we're going to try and be done by, what did we say, 12?
12.
5 p.m. at the least.
But yeah, make dinner now. Let's kidding. No, seriously, we're going to stay on time. We're going to stay on time. If we go a smidge over noon, don't, love us. Please love us. All right, I'm Virginia. Who are you guys? Who are you guys?
I'm Chris.
And I'm Lenni.
And we are the Library Marketing Department at HarperCollins, and we're thrilled to be here. Let's get going.
All right. Just a quick note, if you're having any troubles with video or audio, make sure you are using Google Chrome. That's the best way to go about this. And then also you can follow along with our presentation. There's a little link there to the presentation and title list. So yeah, right. Let's go ahead and get started with the presentation.
La présentation, which is French for the presentation. Ask me anything. Okay, so now you're not going to see our smiling faces now, correct? We'll pop in occasionally. We're going to have Russell Banks come on at what time, Chris? About 11:15, yes?
Yep, 11:15, yeah.
So we'll be back visually to say hi to Russell and for him to talk to you. But right now we're going to get started. So you all have your handouts, and there's Lenni, you want to talk about the links to everything right now?
Yeah, so we're going to burn through a lot of things. So just know that if we mention a link, more than likely we tried to put everything in this Excel grid for you. So look to the very far right, it says links. And we also put different ISBNs of large print, etc. So anything you need, go there first. If it's not in there, let us know. We'll get it for you.
I should have put my mother's Irish soda bread recipe in there, which is the bomb. Maybe later.
We can add that. But yeah, just click the green button there in the middle of the screen, everyone. You'll see it there. Download a copy of our presentation and a title list with ISBNs. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So, okay. Listen, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. You know this like the back of your hand. You know how to get in touch with us. So we're going to flip through all of this, but you have all this, how to get in touch with us, what we offer virtually, how to get, well, go back 1 second, Chris, how to, get authors to appear virtually at your library, which is critical. So reach out and we will do our best to beam an author to your staff and or patrons. All of this is in the deck. Chris, you want to talk about this for a hot second? This is a cool deal.
Oh, yes. Audiobook e-galleries. So we're continually updating this. Audiobook e-galleries are available on Edelweiss and NetGalley. We have specific catalogs for that. I'll be sure to provide links in the comments and in our follow-up. Really exciting, just a fresh new way to engage with upcoming titles. So much more to come there.
Lenni, quick Instagram chat, 2 seconds.
Yes. For every Friday, authors taking over Instagram, Harper Library, check it out. Also, if you're looking for one to go start with, Nancy Pearl. She does reader's advisory pretty much from her home. So check those out.
Okay, now we're going to try and make sure that we answer everyone's questions. So Robin is asking, can Canadian libraries get, I think, virtual events? Yes, I believe so, but we'll find out and we will get back to you. So as long as we have a way to get back to you, Robin, about virtual author events, we will.
Yeah, we'll be able to follow up.
Okay, next slide. Our door to door, I'm sure you all know about this by now. Every Tuesday, we're yakking. These are a ton of authors that we've spoken with. Everything is archived. So check us out. And if you're not on Facebook, fear not. Everything's on YouTube on Library Love Fest channel. Next slide, please. Okay, we have a podcast, and they are amazing. And well, Lenni, you talk about this. I know I said we weren't going to talk about any of this stuff. All right, I'll just say it quick. So Lenni oversees the podcast, and it's amazing. But something that's super, super cool is this interview between Ann Patchett and Kevin Wilson. First time these two ever got together and spoke. It was at PLA. PLA was kind enough to give us the recording. So if you want to hear something very unique, listen to these two speak to each other. They were the virtual conference at PLA, which seems so terribly long ago. But what a great conversation. They're besties. They're really great friends. And anyway, okay, that's on our podcast, among other things. Next. Okay. Da, 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 da. All right. Leave the World Behind, Rumaan Alam. Have you heard of this book? He is now a finalist for the National Book Award, just chosen for the Read with Jenna pick. There's so much. You can't swing a cat, and I'd had a great rave about this book. Strange saying. Anyway, he's going to be on Facebook Live next Tuesday, October 13th. Go to Library Love Fest at 2 o'clock, and you will join in the conversation live. Ask him a question. The book will blow your hair back. It's just so good. I've yet to speak with anybody who hasn't said, what the heck? This book is amazing. So do join us, please. Next. Christopher?
Yes, Anthony Horowitz. Y'all love Anthony Horowitz so much. I do too. And he'll be back to talk about Moonflower Murders, which is the follow-up to Magpie Murders, which many of you probably voted made it a #1 library reads pick. So Susan Ryland and Atticus Pund return, and we cannot wait to talk with Anthony on Tuesday, November 10th on Facebook Live. So just head to our Facebook page. You can sign up for the event, receive reminders. Definitely one to catch.
Okay, why is Catherine Laurie's sound going in and out? Chris, do we have any suggestions?
I would suggest either refreshing the page. Again, make sure you are using Google Chrome. And if you are having issues with Chrome, try clearing your cache and then restarting. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. Let us know if that helps, Catherine.
Yeah, a couple people have said that it just goes silent. So some people are having some sound issues. So listen to Chris and continue to send us notes if you're having issues, and we will keep an eye on that. Okay. All right. So before we get started, we just wanted to make sure that you know about these books that are coming up. These are real big books for us. We have Joe Scarborough. I'm sure you've heard about this book. We've talked about it several times. This is all about Harry Truman and the Cold War and what happens when he steps into office after being, I think, vice president for 3 months. It's absolutely amazing with the shoes that he has to fill and the responsibilities that are laid before him. So it's quite the undertaking, and that's coming out in November. So we're really looking forward to that. And Battle of Brothers. This is a big book about Harry and William. You'll see I think there's a link in here to People Magazine, which is this is going to be on the cover of People Magazine tomorrow. This is a big book, and it's all about sort of the, what informed them as kids, really, with their their family dynamics and how it shaped them. And it sort of explains a lot of the dynamic between them. They were very close, but there were fractures in their relationship long before the whole Meghan Markle thing. And so, Harry was always saying, well, you're going to be king. No one, they really had very different paths, and they call them the heir and the spare. So there's a lot in this book. And if you're fascinated by the royalty and Harry and William and Diana and Charles and everybody that went with this, that goes along with this family and their history, that's the book for you to read. Anyway, okay, we'll keep going because we could be at this all day, but those are two we just wanted to call out. And then we just wanted to let you know that these books were previously presented in our July presentation. So we're not going to present them again because we want to tell you about new stuff. But these are books that we are just bonkers over. And the link to the July Crowdcast is here in the list of links as well. So you can go back and listen to our presentations about any of these books. But we figure, you know what, if we had all the time in the world, we could talk about all this stuff. But we already did. So go back and listen But these books, please pay attention to. They are big, and we love them. They're big in our hearts. All right, here we go. 1040, not bad. Off we go.
All right. Mother May I by Jocelyn Jackson, coming out in April. This one is so big for us. We are so excited. If you read Never Have I Ever, you know this is her 10th book, but her second in the kind of domestic suspense category. And Entertainment Weekly called her a master of domestic suspense. She is killing it with these. And if you don't know Jocelyn, she is an award-winning audiobook narrator and a Library Reads Hall of Fame author. And this book, from the editor in her galley letter, she said it's the best, most ambitious novel of Jocelyn's yet. And we agree. So in this book, we have a woman who's married into wealth and power after a life of being told that the world's dark and not on her side. She kind of puts that away and has a breezy life with her new husband and her kids and her new baby. And she wakes up one day and sees through the bedroom window an old gray-haired woman looking in, and she kind of disappears. She thinks, oh, that must be an optical illusion. But then she goes to her kid's school, and her baby son's asleep with her in the car, and the woman shows back up, and all of a sudden she looks back and her son's gone, and he has vanished. So now she gets a note. Don't bring anyone. Don't involve anyone. And you're being watched. You have to do this task, seemingly small task, and you'll get him back. But as she does that, her actions come with a price, and she becomes involved in this tangle web of secrets. But Jocelyn really does well to blend the thrills and serious topics. There's topics of privilege and opportunity and trauma and complicity and forgiveness in this. And, it's going to be so big for us, and book clubs love to discuss her, but also, she does, you want to keep turning those pages. You want to know more about it, but also she does such a great job of diving into deeper topics. So book clubs will love to talk about this one. Print galleys, hopefully third week of October. I know you guys are looking for them. E-galleys will be a little before that. And they're going to have early audio excerpts for digital audio. So we were excited about the audio for this one. And that is Mother May I by Jocelyn Jackson.
Okay, The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett. This is a high concept, and it's very clever. It's the first in a series with the Queen as a fully developed character. She is a super sleuth. She secretly solves crimes while carrying out her royal duties. This is perfect for fans of the Crown. It's the early spring of 2016. They're getting ready for the Queen's 90th birthday, and a young Russian pianist is found dead in the castle. They think he strangled himself, but it's a badly tied knot, which leads MI5 to suspect foul play was involved. Hence the Windsor Knot. So the Queen leaves the investigation up to the pros, but their suspicions point them in the wrong direction, and she just feels like she needs to take up the mantle and figure out what's going on herself. It's less a cozy than it is a multicultural story. It's a fresh, modern take on a classic genre. She has a Nigerian-born private assistant whose name is Rosie Oshodi, and the two of them solve the death of this Russian pianist at Windsor Castle while the police are just going off in the wrong direction. The author has connections to the House of Windsor, including her own father, who she drew on to get the right feel for the book. If you go to Edelweiss, there's a really cool piece written by the author that talks about her fascination with the royal family, where she got this idea from, and her father having ties. She never met the Queen, but the father had many times in his role. So she got a lot of, and she also applied for the job of Rosie Oshodi, the assistant to the Queen. So she knows, she really has she has the ear, she's got the authenticity. She knows what she's talking about. As I say, it's multicultural, multi-generational, it's even feminist. And Rosie Oshodi, a child of Nigerian immigrants and a former military officer, is the eyes and ears of the Queen. There are cameos in the novel, including Prince Philip, David Attenborough, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and even the Obamas. So if you're fans of anything British, Agatha Christie, Alexander McCall, you're going to love this. The Windsor Knot, S.J. Bennett. Next.
All right, The Hidden Palace by Helene Wecker. I know so many of you were huge fans of The Golem and the Jinni, and this is the follow-up. This is A Tale of the Golem and the Jinni, which was a New York Times bestseller, made just so many best of year lists when it came out, her debut. And in this historical epic, we are now following beloved characters Chava and Ahmad, who are now in New York City in the years leading up to World War One. They are trying to navigate life amongst the humans. Chava is the golem, Ahmad is the genie, and they are just trying to live their lives, avoid danger, but inevitably their lives do become intertwined with other characters. Ahmad accidentally makes a woman sick. That woman travels to find a genie of her own, and certain forces come to pass where these lives of humans, Chava, and Ahmad become intertwined. It's full of historical detail. Helene is Jewish, her husband is Syrian, and this novel really mixes Yiddish and Middle Eastern myths and literature together in such a seamless, beautiful, epic way. This is a huge, huge book for us, and again, I know many of you are thrilled to hear about it. The support from librarians was absolutely astounding for the Golem and the Jinni. So this is coming June 8th. We have a little bit of a wait, but I will keep my eyes open for any galleys for all of you. I know there will be a lot of requests. So that is The Hidden Palace by Helene Wecker.
Oh, this is so exciting. I know I have Anne of Green Gables fans hopefully watching now. So we have a rom-com retelling of Anne of Green Gables called Anne of Manhattan by Brina Starler. So this is just a book after my own heart, and it's written for kindred spirits. It is, modern day rom-com, but it just has all the elements that we love of Anne of Green Gables, and it's a funny way that it became. The editor told us when she launched this book to us that she wrote a tweet that was really simple, like, why is no one retold Anne of Green Gables? Put it in the city, have fun, and do Gil and her story. And Brina, it started a flurry of messages, but Brina wrote and was like, I've got it. I know exactly what I would do. And she really did. The same story she wrote all those months ago has become this book. And it's just a fun twist on an old classic, and we love bringing Anne to the modern world. Thanks, Netflix. We've seen Anne with the E, and we know that she works well with modern day themes. And so in this story, I just finished it last night, and your heart just feels so light after Anne and Diana packed up their small town and hometown in Long Island, this idyllic green small town in Avonlea, and then she's moved to Manhattan. They're roommates. She's going to go to grad school. But then her arch enemy, okay, maybe love to hate enemy, Gilbert Blythe, and after this missed chance of romance in senior year of high school, he has come back to school, and now they are put on the same thesis project, and they have to kind of compete with each other to get to the end of the school year. But as they put a peace treaty aside, they decide maybe that it can be something more. But you have to have that fun fighting in there as well, because they're both very headstrong. There's lots of fun twists and beloved character, excuse me, and they go back to their idyllic town. So a lot of cool scenery and beautiful scenes. And we really dive more into Anne's residual feelings of her life before being adopted, which I thought was really interesting. It's just a really fun, special read. And we are doing a cover reveal on our blog very soon. So we're excited to share that with you.
My Remarkable Journey by Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was the lead figure in Hidden Figures, which was, as you know, the highly successful book, as well as the movie. But here she tells her own full story of what it took to get a job at NASA and become this integral expert on landing the first man on the moon. She passed away in last February at the age of 101. We are left with this this wonderful, enlightening, unbelievable memoir that tells this story of how she grew up in as a child prodigy in the Allegheny Mountains of West Virginia, and how she became this this scientific wonder who really changed the face of exploration, and so she was, as you know, the Hidden Figures told the story of this group of African American women who were working at the West Area Computing Unit. And that's where Katherine was. Taraji P. Henson played her in the movie. She had this sort of that very strong leadership role, in her quiet grace. She worked as a human computer among this unheralded group of African-American female mathematicians. So, days before IBM introduced its first electronic computers, and at a time when African-Americans were subjected to inferior treatment and status. Remember when she had to go running from one side of the building to the other to use the restroom? I don't know if you ever saw that or read the book, but they can make you cry. It really could. But these brilliant women were among these people who were doing the computations that helped send the United States' first manned spaceflight to the moon. And in fact, John Glenn was reluctant to trust her computations of NASA's first electronic computers for the direct trajectory of the 1962 flight to the moon until she did the math by hand. And then he said, get the girl. If she says they're good, then I'm ready to go. So, as I say, this is her story. She talks about the basic tenets of her life, the value of knowing that no one is better than you. Education is paramount, timing is everything, and asking questions can break barriers. She was a standout college student, a doting mother, a grieving widow, and a sage elder. She handled fame with genuine humility and great tragedy with enduring hope. This is a college student who latched onto a dream. By the way, she was inspired by a college professor who told her she would make a, quote, a good research mathematician. She would carry the mantle of that professor, who in 1933 became one of the first African Americans in the country to receive a doctorate in math, only to find his own dreams of becoming a research mathematician crushed by racism. So this is packed full, and it's beautiful, and it's very powerful, and we are very excited to have this on our list. So that is My Remarkable Journey by Katherine Johnson. There was one thing, I know I wanted to say. So they announced, I'm just connecting this in my head, so I'm sharing. They announced the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, and it was awarded to a woman named Dr. Jennifer Doudna. And so she was awarded just today, either today or last night, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for her work in DNA. She was doing surgery of the cell, which basically means altering DNA so it can lead to breakthroughs in devastating diseases. Like the first sickle cell patient to get this treatment was nearly symptom-free a year later. So she was interviewed, and I saw it this morning, and I thought I just wanted to, because I was connecting it to Katherine Johnson. Her message to young people is to go for it. She shares this award with another woman. This is a first for the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. But what I wanted to tell you was that she said she remembers her high school guidance counselor's answer when he asked her what she wanted to do, sort of where you want to go, what do you want to do now? And she said, I want to be a scientist. And he said, girls don't do that. And she said, well, this girl's going to do that. And Katherine Johnson did that. And this is My Remarkable Journey. Next. Oh, All the Science, Half-Life by Gillian Cantor. This is a novel, and it is it's Marie Curie's life sort of reimagined. So, and FYI, this is available as a hardcover library edition. So, the author Gillian Cantor reimagines this this life of Marie Curie. It's very thoughtful writing, and it makes you consider life choices and what's possible. Remember that movie, Sliding Doors? Why am I comparing everything to movies today? But I am. But Sliding Doors. Do you go left? Do you go right? Do you take the train? Or are you late for the train? And so that got her thinking about what would have happened if Marie Curie's life was very different. So in 1891 Poland, Marie Curie, she was then Maria Sklodowski, was engaged to a young mathematician whose mother told him she was not good enough. And it set the course for the girl's study in Paris and a life that ended in a Nobel Prize in physics. But what if she had married and remained in Poland? So she entwines these two women's paths. Half-Life. It explores themes of loyalty, love, identity, gender, class, motherhood, sisterhood. It looks at the opportunities forbidden to women in 20th century Poland and creates this gripping new way of understanding a woman's life in the context of history. Jean Kwok says this is a poignant exploration of ambition, family, gender, and love. I couldn't put down this tender, nuanced, and inspiring novel, a dazzling must read. As I say, the author weaves these two storylines together. The reader flips from one chapter set in Paris to the next chapter in Poland, where she keeps her given name as Maria, and you just learn so much about this incredible woman. And as I say, the life choices that's made and what's possible. It's a very inspiring read, and there's a nice focus on education and women's equal rights. It's really wonderful, and I think she's a terrific writer. So, Half-Life, Gillian Kenter.
Okay, The 100 Years of Lenni and Margot by Marianne Cronin. So we have talked about this a little before because Virginia and I are just like so excited about this one. And so this story is one of my favorites of the season. I'm jealous of anyone who gets to read it for the first time. It's so sweet and heartwarming and tender. It's a story about Lenni Peterson. She's a 17-year-old girl who lives permanently in the May ward at a hospital in Glasgow. And she's told she's dying and spends her time making friends with older staff who maybe don't care to be friends with her, but she doesn't fit in with anyone else her age there. And it's also the story about Margot, an 83-year-old woman. She's very rebellious, and she just kind of connects to Lenni in their over 80s art group because Lenni refuses to go to her age group. And they decide that between them, they have 100 years, and this sparks an art project to tell their life visually, a piece for each year. And so you go back and forth between Lenni's tumultuous early life and Margot's season past full of love and loss and missed love. And it's an unlikely friendship at first, but they complete each other kind of in a way. It discusses the notion of found families and leaving your mark on the world and what people will know about you. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a tearjerker, but it's one you welcome, and you're totally make a contract going in that it's like a good story, and it's so sweet and full of truth and unanswered questions that are universal about life and death. But really funny too. I was laughing out loud, and so many fun characters. They will stay with you. I was reminded of it's kind of a funny story, but it's also for fans of like The Fault in Our Stars and JoJo Moyes. And we have and it's very cinematic. It's like a movie, and I also have the official word that I can say. It's officially the film deal they acquired to develop a film by Sony Pictures. So we're really excited about this one. It's also going to be a library hardcover edition, and I know Virginia's a big fan of it as well.
Love, LOVE with all capitals. It's so good. I can't say any more that I could, but we only have a certain amount of time. But I just love this book so much. It's a must read. It'll warm your heart. It is not maudlin. It is just eye-opening, enlightening, heartwarming, and beautiful.
Oh, and eGalley. Someone said ARCs. eGalley should be in around 10/12, so October 12th, hopefully.
Oh, as soon as we get those up there, we're going to make an announcement because you guys have got to read this. We talked about this once before, and people are like, where are the eGalleys? We're like, we don't have them. But we'll have them soon, and we'll let you know about it because we'd love to hear what you all think. Okay, Nancy Sanders says, I have had to sign in 3 times now. Keep losing sound and video. Freeze. And what's it say? Chris, any thoughts?
I'm going to post Google's tips for clearing cache in cookies. That is what they recommend. The link has just been posted. Please do give that a shot.
Okay, and we're so sorry that that's happening. I don't know if they go back onto YouTube to watch the replay, if it will happen. Will it happen then? Is that a stupid
No,
question?
no, that's not a stupid question. Yeah, the replay will be available on YouTube. It won't be a live thing, and the sound should be consistent throughout. So please give that a shot.
Kim says, I had a problem, but I keep refreshing and fingers crossed. Okay. I don't know how you're refreshing if your fingers are crossed, but you're very ambidextrous. I don't know. Okay. I'm keeping. Oh, you go, Chris.
All right. So The Conjure-Man Dies, a Harlem mystery. This is a very cool release. This is the first detective novel written by an African American featuring only Black characters. It's been really underpublished. There's an edition from 1992 and another in 2011, but they're hard to find. And this is really the first opportunity to blow out and get this title and get it the attention it deserves. So this was written in the 1930s by Rudolph Fisher, who is this distinguished physician and researcher and a major voice in the Harlem Renaissance, but his life was tragically cut short at the age of 37. So we are bringing this back to a wide readership. This is set in Harlem in 1930s and follows a murder mystery of an African conjure-man. And Perry Dart, who is one of the only black police detectives working, is teaming up with a local physician to get to the bottom of who killed this conjure-man. But there's so many great characters, including two local boys who are initially suspects but are taking it upon themselves to kind of clear their own names. So you have all these fun, quick-moving pieces that just add up to just a quick page-turning, fantastic, and important detective novel. So we are absolutely thrilled about this. A really important work. It's coming in January, so please do check it out. That's The Conjure-Man Dies, a Harlem Mystery by Rudolph Fisher.
Next, The Upstairs House by Julia Fine. Shirley Jackson smacks headlong into Helen Phillips's The Need in this surreal feminist look at new motherhood and ambivalence. Megan Weiler is stuck with mostly full-time care of her newborn daughter while her sensible, good-hearted husband travels for work. She's alone basically 24/7 with this baby. And her ravaged body and her exhaustion, well, her mind starts to spin out. Or does it? As she contemplates the lack of progress in her own PhD dissertation on mid-century children's literature, she hears this clanging in the duplex upstairs. It drives her nuts. She tracks it down. She finds this blue aquamarine door in the staircase and knocks. And inside, who's there? Margaret Wise Brown, author of The Goodnight Moon and many other books. And she's building an apartment for her female lover. What happens next is a postpartum haunting readers won't forget. This is grounded in the actual biography of Margaret Wise Brown, and the author pulls this off with blending history, biography, mystery, mother love, and horror. It's an impressive follow-up to her debut, What Should Be Wild, which was shortlisted for a Bram Stoker Award. She brings historical figures and the publishing world to life. So this 1940s affair between cross-dressing socialite Michael Strange and Margaret Wise Brown was an infamous scandal of its time. So Julia Fine here is paying this relationship and the world of 40s children's book publishing a rich, dazzling homage with cameos from the likes of legendary publisher Ursula Nordstrom and actor John Barrymore as Michael Strange's third husband. So this is very cool. This is real twisty and fun. There's a great quote from there are many great quotes actually. We don't have time. But Crystal Hannah Kim, who wrote If You Leave Me, I love this quote. She says, "The Upstairs House is an inventive, surreal, feminist examination of the postpartum experience. Is new mom Megan Wheeler haunted by the ghosts of Margaret Wise Brown and her lover Michael Strange, or is she experiencing a deep postpartum depression? The Upstairs House reveals the isolating, world-changing, full-bodied experience that is new motherhood while unfurling a fascinating tale about one of our most beloved children's books authors. I love Julia Fine's brain and the radical stories she creates. Full of rage and resentment and deep love, The Upstairs House is a must-read." How cool is that? Isn't that cool? I mean, when this was presented, people were just bonkers. It was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. I mean, this is Shirley Jackson, Helen Phillips, Kelly Link. It's there, it's that sort of stuff. Just wonderful. So anyway, next.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Okay, The Secret Life of Dorothy Soames by Justine Cowan. So this is a riveting family drama reminiscent of Angela's Ashes in the Glass Castle. So Justine is most recently known for her headline-grabbing case that exposed massive corruption by EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, forcing his resignation. So she spent more than 2 decades advocating for the voiceless and challenging some of the nation's most powerful interests. Her work's been in the New York Times, Washington Post, and so many more. And this is a true story. So she was always told that her mother came from royal blood. Her mother was British, and she always had this proper accent, and that's always kind of what she knew. And her mom kind of went in and out of bits of odd behavior, and they never got along, and so they were not talking at the time. And then her mom sent her an envelope that she buried away later in life when they were not talking. And overcome with grief after her mother's death, she found this envelope, and it goes back to it, and the contents reveal this mystery of the Hospital for the Maintenance and Education of Exposed and Deserted Young Children, or the Foundling Hospital, which is very famous. And it was established in the 18th century to raise bastard children in quotes, bastard children to clean chamber pots for England's ruling class. The institution was tied to some of the history's most influential figures and events. And so she finds out that her mom had a lot to do with this, and her past was not what she was told. But also she finds so much more information about this Foundling Hospital because it has roots in like human medical experimentation and the development of solitary confinement, and all of these things just echo out from this terrible place that her mother had links to, and her mother was able to escape in a way, and that life shaped what Justine knew. But it's just a journey to understand her mother and that history, not only that shaped her mother's life, but that shaped so many. We have a great quote, as you see, from Christine Baker Klein, but also from Adrian Broder. It says, an unexpected and original addition to the mother-daughter memoir, Orvra and the Secret Life is both moving and artful, rewarding its readers page after page. And we have a podcast episode where the editor talks about this book, and that link is in your document. Very, very interesting.
All right. Sorry, Lenni, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honorée Fanonne Jeffers. This novel carries that kind of weight of a brilliant, important literary event and has the feel of something that Honorée was born to write. She's already an award-winning poet and essayist. This is her fiction debut, and it's an epic story of one African American family spanning from the early days of the colonial slave trade all the way to present day. And it bounces back and forth through time, but follows this single family and really centers on this young woman, Ailey. Her father is an accomplished doctor. Her mother is a strict school teacher. Her family lives in the city, but she also has ties to rural Georgia. And she is trying to come to terms with her life, what her place in history is, and she sets off on a journey to kind of discover what her true history is. It takes her back to her ancestors, Black, Indigenous, and white in the Deep South, and how we form our ideas about ourselves. It's epic and beautiful. This is a novel that I read and just could not get it out of my mind. It's this epic undertaking, and again, just so brilliantly told, an important book that is going to be, I think, a literary classic. That's how confident and how blown away I was by this singular writing event. So we don't have galleys yet. I will be spreading this one all over. So keep your eyes peeled. It's coming in July. That's the Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. All right, and me again. World Travel by Anthony Bourdain. Of course, as we all know, we tragically lost Anthony Bourdain several years ago. And along with that, I think people lost someone that we found is like a friend, of course, is a guide, is someone who really opened up the world to many people who couldn't necessarily do it on their own. And so this is a definitive, useful guide to some of Anthony's favorite places in the world, where to eat, where to shop, where to explore, who to talk to, and how. It's filled with 101 beautiful illustrations that the Echo team, the publisher, wanted to get perfect for this. And I think they nailed it. You can see the jacket there. I just think this is a brilliant keepsake, an important guide, and a great way to remember one of the most influential figures in writing, travel, cooking, Anthony Bourdain. It's beautiful. So that is coming in April.
Confident Women by Tori Telfer. Love Tori's work. If you haven't read Lady Killers, this book before this, she is one of my favorite true crime writers of all time, makes everything accessible and breaks down intense histories to make them immensely readable. But she also takes you out of the facts and makes you think about the bigger picture. And she researches extensively. I'm so impressed. She actually just hosted a 6-episode podcast for CBS called Why Women Kill. So as far as true crime goes, she knows her stuff. And if you're a true crime fan, this is perfect for you. If you're not, that's okay. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But this book, Confident Women, it asks why we are obsessed with scammers. Elizabeth Holmes, why does she intrigue us? And con artists are very intriguing to us, and we can find ourselves secretly kind of wishing that they'd come out on top. I don't know why, but this book explores that. And I think, it takes us on a tour of the historical female scammers in the world. We have 1700s Paris, a woman on the hunt for a necklace who might have contributed to the eventual downfall of Marie Antoinette. Then we have mid 1800s, sisters inadvertently started a religious movement after pretending to talk to spirits. And she goes on and goes through this history, but she also reveals, I think, a lot more about the people reading it. Like, why are we so intrigued, and what does that tell about us? And if you're not into true crime, but you love history or interesting tales from history, this is a great entry into the true crime space. It's not as spooky and creepy as some in that space. So if you are a little worried, this would be perfect to start with. And it's she's skillfully positioned you to feel for the con artist, but also for the people who are swindled. And you, like I said, it reveals more about you. Like, why are you interested in them? And it's just fun intro chapters too, that you see a weird section of events that are going to happen, and you get to kind of follow along. I love this book so much, and I hope you take a look at it. We have a library hardcover edition as well. So that's Confident Women by Tori Telfer.
Okay, and I just want to address a couple of questions. I don't want you to think that we're not seeing them. We are. I don't honestly know who is going to be reading the audio for the Bourdain, but we will find out. And Donna Berger wants to know, where is the Edelweiss link again? Lenni, can you tell everyone?
Yes, so anything we've talked about today is in an Edelweiss catalog for you. If you open that Excel, that button at the bottom with all the ISBNs, at the very top, there's a link for the Edelweiss catalog. It has anything we talk about today. So you can find that there.
Great, thanks. Okay, so the next book is When Women Invented Television. Then we're going to do one more slide after this, which is a brief mention of some short story collections coming up, and then Russell Banks. So When Women Invented Television, this is a really, really neat book. This is by Jennifer Keishin Armstrong, the author of Seinfeldia. This is about the origins of TV, the TV showing, and the visionary women who set the direction of TV for decades. So, radio was all the rage, and all of a sudden TV comes in, and nobody thinks it's really such a great idea, because people were going to have to go out and buy these televisions, and they didn't have the money, and so it was kind of poo-pooed. So when it was introduced commercially in the late 40s, all the men of radio were pretty much, they didn't want anything to do with it. Enter 4 women. Betty White. She became a daytime talk show fan favorite and one of the first women to produce, write, and star in her own show. Erna Phillips. Oh, Lenni, can you show the photographs while I'm talking about these women? This is pretty cool. Look at this. Erna Phillips, look at her smoking that cigarette. How cool is she? I know smoking is not cool, but back then, come on. Erna Phillips, she created daytime serials featuring female-dominated casts. Her serials As the World Turned and The Guiding Light each ran for over 50 years. My mother used to listen to The Guiding Light on the radio. Hazel Scott, a renowned musician. She was the first African-American to host a national evening variety program. And Gertrude Berg, we don't have a photo of here, though there's an 8-page black and white insert in this book. Gertrude Berg turned her radio show into a Jewish family comedy that spawned a play, a musical, an advice column, and even a line of house dresses. She essentially created the sitcom. So that's the bulk of this book, that these visionary women really did invent television. And then what happened? The Red Scare ended it all. Politics, sexism, racism, anti-Semitism, and money. They all collided. They got Hazel Scott's TV career decimated. Gertrude Berg's show, the careers of the other women in the industry just shot down. It was a pivotal point, and men stepped into the vacuum and took over. I'm going to not say shocking, but I am. This book is authorized by Betty White and the families of the rest of the women. This is a fascinating book. This author has done such a great job. I wanted to say one other thing about this, that there's juicy bits of early Hollywood. This is an incredible portrait of really radical women. You'll see their work and their personal lives were so much more than entertainment. It was about casting minorities and bringing their stories to light, as well as casting aside outdated and traditional roles in their homes, because they were single mothers, single women, breadwinners. This is a fantastic and important book, When Women Invented Television, by Jennifer Keishin Armstrong. Love, 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 love. Okay, very quickly, short stories. Okay, we're so excited about Elizabeth McCracken. What do I need to say other than it's Elizabeth McCracken? Lenni, Love and Color.
Yes, these are stories all over the world, and Bolu just came in, and she's a huge Twitter personality. Very fun. It's just like seeing love in very different aspects and different words, especially Black love.
Chris?
Yes, I do need to shout out this very cool short story collection by Kim Bo-young, I'm Waiting for You and Other Stories, which are 4 sci-fi stories involving love, betrayal. They're literary and beautiful. There's a great quote from Bong Joon-ho, who is the Oscar award-winning director of Parasite, who says, Bong's fiction is a breathtaking piece of a cinematic art itself, reminiscent of the world we experience in Matrix, Inception, and Dark City. Still, it leads us to this entirely original structure, which is a groundbreaking, mystic, literary, and cinematic experience. Not bad. We're waiting on e-galleys. Do check it out, though.
And Reunion Beach. Sadly, as you all know, Dorothea Benton Frank, otherwise known as Dot, passed away in the fall of 2019, leaving so many fans and friends, family devastated. Leaving a huge void. And Reunion Beach is a collection of stories that were inspired by Dot Frank and written by her writer friends. Ellen Hilderbrand, Patty Callahan, Mary Alice Monroe, Adriana Trigiani. These are not very brief stories. They're rich. They're detailed. They're wonderful, and they are interspersed with recollections of poetry and thoughts and remembrances of Dot Frank and the mark that she left on the world. So the introduction is written by her daughter, Victoria. This is going to be quite the collection of a lot of different things, as I say, short stories, remembrances, fiction, nonfiction, all inspired by and in honor of Dot Frank, who left us way too soon. That's Reunion Beach. It's coming out in April. Those are our short stories. And now, wow, we have Russell Banks. Russell Banks will be coming on in a second. We just want to make sure that you see this arresting, haunting jacket for his book Far Gone, which goes on sale in March. Russell Banks, twice a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. His huge library of books. I can't even pick my favorite, to tell you the truth. I love them all. He is a national treasure. As you can see from Colin McCann, Russell Banks is word for word, idea for idea, one of the great American novelists. I couldn't agree more. This is a story about Leonard Fife, a documentary filmmaker who flees to Canada to avoid serving in Vietnam. Let's have Russell tell you more about the book. Can we bring him on?
Yes, just invited Russell on, so just bear with us for a few seconds.
Let's see.
And Russell, if you're there, I just sent you an invitation to join us on screen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also, it's Jennifer Winberry's birthday. Happy birthday.
Right. Happy birthday to. While we're waiting for Russell, happy birthday, Jennifer. Did you get the puppy we sent you? We didn't send you a puppy, but we're very happy that you're here, and we wish you a very happy birthday and a happy and a healthy birthday year. Hi, Barbara.
While we're waiting, I will say that the link to a short story for Souvenir Museum is on your list, so check it out.
Oh,
Hey,
perfect.
Russell's here.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Hi.
hey, hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Russell. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and so many librarians are logged on and so eager to hear from you, and we just are so thrilled and honored that you've taken the time to be with all of us today to talk about
it's a pleasure. I'm up in the northeastern corner of New York State in the Adirondack Mountains, where winter is knocking at the door, it seems. But it's a pleasure to talk about Foregone with you. I'm grateful for the opportunity, although I'm still just now getting used to trying to talk about it. It's a novel, and it's based on certain historical facts and events that have been overlooked over the years. It's little known, but some 60,000 American men, young men, fled the United States to Canada during the Vietnam War years, late 60s and early 70s. And after Jimmy Carter provided amnesty for them, only about 10% returned. The rest stayed in Canada. And the central character, the protagonist for this novel, is one of those who stayed. He stayed and over time became a legendary figure as a radical, muckraking documentary filmmaker, someone more or less in the manner of someone like Werner Herzog, an aggressive personality, a righteous man, and a much admired man. And he's telling his story now from the present in his home, being filmed by an ex-student documentary filmmaker of his as he is dying of cancer. And he's telling his story of his past. The novel is structured between the present and the narrative that takes place there with the filmmaker, a cameraman, a sound person, a producer present in the room, plus his wife, and another major character, his Haitian nurse, who operates something like a Greek chorus over the course of the novel. It's structured between the present and what he remembers of his past as he tries to tell what is an unknown set of truths about his past. It's required quite a bit of research. I'm not Canadian officially. Well, I guess I am officially a Canadian, dual citizen. And I spent a lot of time back and forth in Canada. My father was Canadian born, and three of my grandparents are Canadian born. So I've had close contact and great affection for Canada. And I was lively and engaged in the late 60s and early 70s in the anti-war movement. So that part of the novel didn't require a great deal of research. I did have to learn about filmmaking, which I did through the great good graces of and help of a couple of Canadian and American filmmakers that I've worked with in the past. I couldn't have written this book, I don't think, when I was younger. I needed to wait until I myself was in somewhat the same position as my protagonist, Leo Fife, which is to say I had to wait perhaps to my late 70s. I'm not dying of cancer. But I am looking back over my own past more so than I ever have in the past, and trying to make sense of it, trying to see the sequence that led from my childhood to my youth, through my young adulthood and on, and to where I happen to find myself today, just as Leonard Fife is doing. But added to that, of course, is the kind of double consciousness that a person of two nationalities has, a refugee. The issue of being a refugee and of dealing with the pleas and the needs and the cries for help from refugees, which is so much a part of our political and social life today, was very big then too, in the late 60s, early 70s. Only the refugees were coming from the United States rather than to the United States. And Canada was welcoming them in and providing protection and refusing to extradite them to the United States. So it's a kind of interesting and maybe ironic reversal of certain conditions today, important conditions today. On a more kind of literary note, critics like to think that novels, works of art, literary art especially, are influenced by other works. What happens more often than not, however, in the writing of a book is that the writer discovers in the process of writing it that there is some kind of a ghost text in the book, that he doesn't have, or she doesn't have to invent the wheel all over again. And that happened here with this book. I got about halfway into it, and I started hearing rhymes and echoes from something else, some other book, some other story. And of course, the story of a man dying, old age, dying of cancer, and recapitulating his life, reevaluating his life, surrounded by his family and his friends and his colleagues, and so on. Naturally, I guess, I began to think of Tolstoy's Death of Ivan Ilyich, that great novella, and that helped me organize the book and structure it. I had fooled with the material for a long time, for 3 or 4 years, but I couldn't figure out how to structure the book until this ghost of Tolstoy, of Ivan Ilyich, appeared in the text itself, and that kind of helped me finish the book off and bring it into existence. There's a lot more to it, of course. It's a novel, and it's difficult to summarize without talking the plot, and I don't want to do that. I hope you'll read the book, and I hope that the book will resonate for you, and I hope that the consciousness of the main character can live on through you. So thank you for this morning's visit, and I think probably I should leave now.
Oh, we don't ever want to leave. It's a powerful book and a beautiful book, and I love this character so much, and you really are drawn in from page one, Russell. We talked a lot about this yesterday, and just how a writer embodies, their characters. We had a long conversation about that. I thought it was really interesting. What you had to say about that.
Well, my favorite character in there is the Haitian nurse. I mean, she's got a kind of clarity and stoicism and lack of sentimentality that some of the other characters lack, and she sort of stands in the story as an anchor in many ways. I was very pleased to spend time with her.
Yeah, that's very interesting. because well, of course you're right. You're Russell Banks, but it's true. She's not fawning. She's not, she's not, fussing with him, and they're not, she's just pushing him here and there, and her words are sort of spare, but they hit their mark.
Good. Yeah, but another thing about the book that particularly fascinated me was something that psychiatrists call confabulation, and that is the way in which we often, especially when we're ill, but even when we're not ill and we're just remembering our past, we tend to confabulate. We invent our past in many ways, from things we actually did do and saw, and people we did love or hate or fear, and we alter it, the narrative, in the telling and in the remembering, the very remembering. And the main character, Leo Fife, is doing that with his life, as his past. He's confabulating. He's mixing together things that actually happened, things he dreamed, things that he wishes happened, and maybe things he's read, movies he's seen, all kinds of elements that float through his mind, merge and construct I hope, a coherent narrative. Meanwhile, the filmmakers who have clustered around him in his bedroom and in his living room, making their movie of his last days, they don't know what's true and what isn't true. They don't know. He's revealing things they don't want revealed about himself and about his past and about how he came to Canada and what happened after he came, what happened in his childhood and so forth. And so the tension in the novel, I hope, from the beginning is the tension that I think we all have when we try to remember through our memory, say what is the truth of the past. And it's anyone who has sat down with a sibling and talked about their shared childhood discovers almost instantly that there were two very different childhoods there.
That's so true.
That's not how I remember it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so there is an exploration, I think, of the mystery of memory, and the unreliability of it, and in a sense the creative nature of memory, that I think is central to the novel.
Yeah, it's really. It's very compelling, and it strikes so many chords. The characters, their voices, the conversations, the internal voice of the characters, and the life-saving memories. Well, Russell, we could go on all day, and we will, because we will be letting everyone here know when we secure a date for our Facebook Live. And so we'll make sure that, because we'll have more time then to talk more about the book, and you can answer questions from folks. But we thank you so much again.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. It's an honor. You be
Great.
well.
Thank you. You too. Right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Is it just me? Am I the only one here?
We're still here with you, Virginia.
Yay!
I'm gonna share my screen.
Oh my God, I love him.
So,
I love that man. He is amazing. Rule of the Bone. Oh, so good. The Sweet Hereafter. Try and read it and not cry. He's just amazing. And so, again, when we talk about getting virtual events for authors, for an author of Russell's stature, of course, we're looking for events that are, sort of like maybe traditional, historical, annual, some kind of luncheons or fundraisers, some sort of event where if you have that and you're looking for an author, because we would be looking for, a well-attended event. So please let us know. Okay. And onward we go.
And Virginia, I just want to mention one thing. Krista gave a good tip for anyone. If your video, you're still having issues, if you hover over the video, there will be a little like a gear that you can change the HD quality of the video, and you can turn it down to like 360p, and that should smooth out your experience. Again, if you're having issues, please do try that. Thank you, Krista, for the tip. And back to the books. Thanks, V.
Okay. I can tell you now that we will be going beyond 12 noon. We will try very hard to stay as on track as we have so far, but we have a lot of books, so we're just going to keep going. And I would say, we'll probably be done by 12:15. All the Children Are Home by Patry Francis. This takes place over several decades in the late 1950s through the 1970s, and it's the story of two long-term foster parents who are raising three boys. This is taking place in a small town in Massachusetts. It follows the Moscatelli family, Dahlia and Louis. And they feel like their family is complete, but a social worker asks them and they always wanted boys. They didn't want any girls. There's a reason for that. But the social worker asks them if they would consider taking in an abused 6-year-old indigenous girl. And Dahlia, the mother, has her own traumatic past, dreads taking in the girl, but the child, her name is Agnes Juniper, and what is a better name than that? They take her, and she strengthens the family's bond. And years later, she even helps her siblings find the courage and resilience to save themselves and each other. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. I gobbled this up so quickly. It's an arresting cover, and the pages inside are just as arresting. The author's last book, The Orphans of Race Point, was a huge success. It got 2-starred reviews. The author is a 3-time Pushcart nominee for her stories. The inspiration for this book comes from her late husband, a Native American who was also a foster child. This is an author to recommend to fans of Wally Lamb. She's got compassionate stories of New England families, difficult childhoods, and the abiding power of human connection. It's just beautiful. It's the kind of family story about overcoming hardship and particularly resilient children conquering obstacles when odds are stacked against them. So that is All the Children Are Home by Patry Francis. Oh, wait, we have a starred library journal review. We have so many reviews actually on this book that I don't even know where to begin, but you can see right there that we have a couple of starred reviews. And I just wanted to pull this one up real quick. This is Carolyn Levitt, New York Times bestselling author of Pictures of You and With or Without You, a shattering story of how the human spirit can surmount any odds. Gorgeously written, profound, and so inspiring, and it could be a roadmap of how to live. I could go on. Just got to keep going, but it's just a beautiful, gorgeous book.
Okay, The Lowering Days by Gregory Brown. This is a literary debut that I think will really put Gregory on the map. This takes place in 1980s Maine and follows 3 brothers who grew up in Maine, kind of in the rural area of Maine, of which most of Maine is, running along the Penobscot River, just kind of living the ideal boyhood life. But little do they know that there are some real tensions that involved in their community. It's poor. A plant that is recently going to reopen suddenly burned to the ground on the eve of its reopening. And suddenly this tight-knit community is faced with the real problem of its history with its indigenous population, the Native American peoples who settled it and whose lives and culture have slowly been pushed off to the side in the charge for jobs. So it's a really interesting mix of looking at the very real plight of workers in a poverty-stricken area and what their priorities are, but also the very real problem of how do we deal with the people whose land this belongs to and the rich history that it really populates the land. It's beautiful. I think you see that Unsheltered comp, Barbara Kingsolver. I think that places this really well. It's, again, a beautiful exploration of boyhood, but also of Maine. of which Gregory, his family has spanned 4 generations living in Maine. He knows this land, and he realizes it in such a beautiful way. This is an important book, fully fleshed out, and I'm very excited to share it with you. It's going on sale in March. That's The Lowering Days by Gregory Brown.
Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. Yes, Almost Famous meets Daisy Jones and the Six. I mean, what else can I say to you? This is I love this book so much. I know Lenni loves it too. This is another one of those shared love. What about this part? Did you read this part? Did you finish it yet? Tell me when you finish it. Oh my God, so good. It's about a 14-year-old girl's coming of age in 1970s Baltimore. And I don't think you have to have been someone who walked in her shoes, someone like me at 58, who grew up at that time, to appreciate this story. Because I think this is a very wide-reaching story because there's a lot of heart and a lot of humor. And this is really about a kid who grew up in a very straight-laced, sort of buttoned-up family. And she's an only child, and she gets this job as a nanny to this little kid. And in this house that seems fine on the outside, the father is a doctor, and so all is well. But he's a psychiatrist, and he's cleared his summer for one important job. He's helping a famous rock star dry out. So a week after Mary Jane starts this job, taking care of this 5-year-old precocious kid, the rock star and his movie star wife move in. So over the course of the summer, when Mary Jane walks into this house, it's just clutter and crazy, and it's like cereal for lunch and breakfast and dinner, and they're real freewheeling, and this is completely foreign to her, but of course she loves it. But she comes with this whole set of skills. She cleans their house. She makes these meals. She gets them together, and they love her. And they love her relationship with their little girl. And then she's gobsmacked when she sees this movie star and this rock star living in their home. And, then she learns that, he's there to dry out, and the father is there to, sort of straighten him out. She can't tell her parents any of this stuff because she knows right away they'll say, all right, you're out of there. So she loves it. So this is her summer. This is her summer with this crazy freewheeling family. And she has a front row seat to a very liberal world of sex, drugs, and rock and roll and group therapy. She's caught between the lifestyle she's always known and the future she's only just realized is possible. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic coming of age story about finding yourself. There's a lot of humor. There's some teenage rebellion. There's a lot of rock and roll. It's got a lot of heart. I love this book. Lenni, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Oh, just quickly I love it so much. And, I think like Emma Klein, The Girls, like that summer that shaped me vibe where you realize that your family, like your distinct perspective is not what's all in the world. It's so great.
Next.
Okay. The Heiress by Molly Greeley. This is coming out in January, and it's the second in, it's not a series, but it's kind of a type of book that Molly's been writing. You probably recognize The Clergyman's Wife. She wrote before this, and it reimagines Charlotte from Pride and Prejudice and what her life would be like after she married Mr. Collins. And this, like that, is set in the Pride and Prejudice world, but it is so much more than that. It is a wonderfully, gorgeously written historical novel, a literary historical novel that can stand on its own. It doesn't need to have that Pride and Prejudice pull, but that also is a very fun factor in it as well. So this is about Anne de Burgh. And we love that Molly is exploring all these side characters that maybe you don't think anything else about. And there's a great behind the book piece on Edelweiss that you should read where Molly was saying that she just kind of jokingly thought one day with her newborn baby, like, oh, I could just give you something to be quiet for a few minutes so I can get something done. And then she's like, no, that actually probably did happen. And she went on this research kick of like what people gave babies a long time ago to get them to not be as fussy and how that would affect them later in life. So she thought, well, isn't that interesting that Anne de Burgh is very sickly and kind of quiet and on her own and not big in this Pride and Prejudice original book? What if she was given laudanum when she's a baby and she kind of gets addicted to this opium heavy a drug that she has to take, and that's what is making her lethargic. But really, she doesn't need it. And so in this story, Anne realizes after her father passes away that she might not need this. This whole life might be a false reality. And so she goes off to her cousin, John Fitzwilliam's house in London, and kind of comes off of this medication. She goes through her healing, and she soon discovers a whole new world. Everything is in bright colors. She has been shy and not been out in society, and so she decides like she's got to have to figure out all of this, and she's going to have to go up against her mother, who is a little bit of a controlling person in her life. But there's great historical detail and explorations of feminism and freedom, and it's for fans of Sarah Waters and Sarah Perry. It's going to be published in the UK, which is a big accomplishment for an American author with this subject. And it's in really good hands. Like I said, Pride and Prejudice is really cool about it, but that's not what makes this so astounding. It's a beautiful literary historical novel. And we can't wait to see more in this Pride and Prejudice world, hopefully. So that's The Heiress by Molly Greeley.
Next.
All right. The Great Mrs. Elias by Barbara Chase Rabeau. This is a really exciting publication for us. You'll know Barbara from her publication of Sally Hemings, over 1 million copies sold. She's an artist, a poet, a thinker. She's genius. And this is a very fascinating story based on a real life fact that explores the life of Hannah Elias, she was the richest black woman in America in the early 1900s. And this story opens up with a murder in the entryway of Miss Elias's 5-story penthouse in Central Park West. And this opens up an investigation into her life. She was a woman who was a self-made American millionaire. She invested privately through kind of utilizing the employment of white men to invest, to shield herself from obviously the racist and unjust critiques against black women at this time. But this murder opens up investigations into her wealth and kind of upends her world as people start digging into her past. She did not come from privilege. She was entirely self-made. So it's an important story, and I think it's in great hands, and we're very, very excited about its publication. It's going on sale in May. So that is The Great Mrs. Elias.
Next, we have Lola on Fire by Rio Ewers. This is coming out in February. It's a new action-filled thriller from British Fantasy Award nominee Rio Ewers. In this story, we have Brody, who lost his father recently, doesn't know how to reach his mother. She's gone somewhere. And his sister Molly is running low on her medication. How is he going to provide when he has all of this on his shoulders? He's very young, trying to figure this out. He's going to rob a convenience store, and he's going to get the money, and he's going to be able to provide for his family. Well, his plans are upended when he leaves the store after robbing it, and someone hits him, and he drops his wallet, and they pick it up. He doesn't realize it until he gets a phone call, and he has to meet them to get it. And they say that they're going to kind of hold it until he sneaks into this mysterious girl that has met him to tell him all this. She wants him to go into her house, steal something from her stepmother, and then he'll get his wallet back. He's like, fine, I'm like already in this way too far now. So instead, of this small thing he's going to do for her, he walks in on a bloody setup, and he knows that it is. And the girl's father turns out to be this major mobster, Jimmy Latzo. And so he and Molly, his sister, go on the run and search for this infamous Lola Bear to try to help them, because it's a ghost from Brody and Molly's past, but also Jimmy, who maybe he's deciding all of this setup was even another step further to get Lola back into everyone's lives. It's such a fun read. It's got a mixture of like novice and skilled fugitives, which makes kind of funny scenes because Molly and Brody are trying to figure it out. Molly spends a lot of time naturally seeking shelter in the library to research the next move. And you have Lola, who has been doing on the run for so long. There's a lot of kick butt action, and I say hashtag girl power, which is my favorite. And there's this lovely Joe Hill quote, but also AJ Finn has given it a lovely quote as well. It says, the last novel to kickstart your brain and your pulse at the same time, cross Elmore Leonard and Lisa Gardner, and you'll get Rio Ewers, more Lola Please, Aflame or otherwise. And it's really fun, page turning. I loved reading this one.
All right, just want to let you know we have the return of two beloved sci-fi fantasy authors, so just have these on your list. Becky Chambers returns with another entry in her Wayfarer series with the Galaxy and the Ground Within. Great diverse cast in the space opera. Becky is just one of the best at the game. You'll know her from A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, amongst others. That's coming in February. And then LLF BFF Sarah Beth Durst comes with a new standalone, The Bone Maker, about a group of aging warriors who are on their way to fighting their way back to relevance. Her world building is fantastic. Great characters, always so fast paced, strong female characters. Love both of these authors, so definitely have them on your radar.
Okay, Sparks Like Stars by Nadia Hashimi. I'm a big fan of hers. I love her books. She wrote The Pearl That Broke Its Shell, The House Without Windows, and When the Moon is Low. If you've read any of those, I would imagine that you are also a fan of her writing. In addition to that, she wrote a couple of children's novels. Now she's back with a real barn burner. It's an own voices story about atrocity, trauma, identity, and mercy. In 1978 Kabul, a soldier saves the life of a 10-year-old girl while the rest of her family is murdered in a political assassination. An American diplomat adopts the girl and raises her in the United States. Fast forward to 2008, New York. That girl is now a doctor and sees a man she never expected to see again. The elderly man before her is the soldier who saved her and who may have murdered her family. That's the bones of Sparks Like Stars. This is Nadia Hashimi. This is a bold, illuminating, heartbreaking, and hopeful story of home, of America and Afghanistan, tragedy and survival, reinvention and remembrance, told as only Nadia Hashimi can tell it. There's a terrific behind the book piece on Edelweiss that she has written about Afghanistan, and back when it was a beautiful place, a peaceful place. Before the coup, it had been a coveted posting for Americans in the Foreign Service and an exotic stop along the hippie trail. Kabul was cosmopolitan with fashion shows and women training to become physicians. Her own mother graduated college with a degree in engineering. Afghans in the countryside were hospitable to a fault. You really should read it. It's beautiful, and it gives you a sense of her appreciation for it then and what's going on now. She herself, her parents left Afghanistan in the 70s before the Soviet invasion, and then in 2002 she visited Afghanistan for the first time with her family. She's a pediatrician. Her husband is an Afghan-born neurologist. They have 4 kids. They live in Washington, D.C. If you need a great speaker for your library, let us know. She's just fantastic. This is Sparks Like Stars.
All right, Braceless by Georgina Lawton. This comes out in February, and Georgina is previously a columnist for The Guardian. She writes about the link between travel and identity now on her blog, Girl Unfurled. And Georgina this is a story about the way she grew up and then catapults into the future and becomes so much more in a universal book in its own. So she was raised in English suburbia in the UK, and her parents were white and her friends were white. There's no reason for her to think that she was any different. But her colorblind household didn't really acknowledge that she had a difference or access to Black culture to tell her that she was different. And she lacked the ways to make sense of this greater place in the world and what that means, her history. So after her father's death, she began to unravel the truth about her past and the racial identity that she hasn't really explored because no one gave her that opportunity to do. And she fled from England and the turmoil of her home life and she goes to different Black communities around the world, the U.S. and UK, Nicaragua, Cuba, Dominican Republic, and so on, Morocco. And she explores identity and what it means to live and navigate that world as a Black woman. So it goes, it uses her specific raising, but also it's so much more than that, and it kind of reads as its own travelogue in a way, because you know, armchair traveling, but you get such an over an expansive look at the world. And it follows her, you know, on the self-discovery of her identity and her family, and that's how the book came to be. But like I said, it goes past that and so much more. And she's kind of, the author's also sort of become an expert in DNA testing and in that space, and has become an Audible, she has an upcoming Audible podcast on the subject. But it's also the diverse voices pick for Winter 21 for us, and that's anyway, so it serves as a travelogue and memoir, and she balances the racial experiences abroad with all of her research. So lots to come from this author, and we're very excited about this book.
All right, I had to unmute. Sorry about that. So, The Anatomy of Desire by L.R. Dorn, which is the pen name for Suzanne Dunn and Matt Dorf, who are two prolific screenwriters, directors, producers for film and television. And in this novel, they are kind of taking Theodore Dreiser's classic novel, An American Tragedy, and turning it on its head for the 21st century. And this is a kind of investigative novel told through various transcripts that follows the mysterious disappearance of a young woman named Beck, who goes one day on this picturesque canoe ride with Cleo, whose real name is Claire Griffith. She's a woman who left her conservative family and then moved to LA and rebranded herself as this famous influencer called Cleo Ray. And so Claire slash Cleo takes this young woman on this canoe ride. Beck disappears. Cleo briefly disappears as well. And so begins this whole investigation into what really happened to Beck. What is Cleo hiding? And again, told in a very interesting way through these transcripts. So very much for fans of Serial and The Jinx, with characters speaking through these transcripts. So you get all these different viewpoints, rumors, what's fact, just propulsive, very interesting and unique take, and entry into the thriller genre. And you can see it's a 150,000 an ounce print for a debut novel, which should say a lot about how excited we are about this book. And it's coming in May. And then one more for me. Oh my gosh, I love this book, Girl in the Walls by A.J. Ganussi. So this is a part coming of age novel, part suspense. I mean, it is scary at times, but it's also very tender. And you open up with this young woman who has basically her parents died in a car wreck, and she has not left their original house. Only she lives in secret. A new family is living there, but this young girl kind of is living in the walls and the crevices and the unknown spaces in this house she knows so well. And she thinks that she's completely undetected. So it's one of the most interesting ways I've ever moved through a space with this young narrator, Elise. But little does she know that the two boys who are living there with their parents actually kind of know that she's living there. And to kind of prove their toughness and their masculinity, they enlist the help of a truly dangerous individual to take care of the problem. So again, it's tender as Elise starts to become known and find herself, but it's also extremely thrilling as this malevolent force comes into play in the story. It's really unlike anything I've ever read. It is like stay up all night kind of read. There are pages of quotes that are so long, like authors go on and on about this book. Clyde Edgerton says, "May the race be long with many more novels, but AJ will be hard pressed to outdo Girl in the Walls." So, so good. It's coming in May. It's Girl in the Walls.
Infinitum by Tim Fielder. So Tim Fielder is an illustrator, cartoonist, and animator from Mississippi. Woo woo. And he is the founder of Diesel Funk Studio, a multimedia storytelling company. He's an educator and so much more. And he actually did a really great TED Talk about Afrofuturism, which is so important in this book. But I put the link in there because check it out. He is just such a dynamic speaker, and he pulls you in. He's very funny. But also he's so talented with his artwork. So Afrofuturism, and he goes through this a lot better than I can explain in 1 minute, but like Black Panther and other movies and stories that are coming to be popular right now, it becomes an escape for people who are not written into the history that they might be. So he takes elements of African culture and the futurism and melds them together. So in this, we have 260 pages of just stunning, emotional graphic novel images. Infinitum presents a new universe, tackling racism, classism, and gender inequality while exposing the mystery behind ancient statues. And graphic novels are really big right now, but this one is but with the rise of things like Black Panther and other art and movies coming together, this is just a perfect meld of all this. It combines superhero elements of comics, but a strong narrative, such as like Game of Thrones or we have To Kill a Mockingbird, the graphic novel. That's kind of the same feeling in a way. And it's Jerry Craft, who the New York Times bestselling author of New Kid. It's an amazing tale of one man's odyssey from African king to ruler of the stars, told with breathtaking visuals. Infinitum is an epic in every way, engrossing, powerful, intelligent, and cinematic. And it goes through the past and the future, bringing time and space into different things that this king has seen. He has immortality in a way, and he can explore cultures that he doesn't understand that maybe he didn't experience. Really, really beautiful, and we're so excited to have this on the list. That's Infinitum by Tim Fielder.
All right. A Brief History of Earth by Andrew H. Knoll. All right. So this is great popular science, but also important science. This is 4 Billion Years in 8 Chapters by Andrew Knoll, who is a renowned Harvard geologist. And this is a sweeping account of our planet's 4.6 billion year history. And really, I think the most important thing here is it places where we are in this moment, the current environmental crisis, in the context of 4.6 billion years. And with such a vast time scale, how where we are right now still sticks out like a sore thumb. Like this is, and he really expands upon the layers of our Earth, where we're seeing these dramatic changes, the worlds that were lost within our planet before us, and where we might go from here. I mean, I think it's an essential reading. This is, one of the major crises we are facing, and I don't think there's anyone better to really guide us through such a huge narrative. So this is very much for fans of astrophysics for people in a hurry, 7 brief lessons on physics, and a brief history of time. Just really makes this complex, important topic extremely accessible and entertaining at the same time. So this is coming in April, A Brief History of Earth by Andrew H. Knoll.
Okay, we have 8 titles left to go. I'm looking at some of the comments and people are saying that they are happy to stick around because it's 3 minutes after 12. So for us, that's pretty good. And somebody said maybe we could start a little later next time so that the West Coasters could join as well. We're fine to do that. We're going to do this again in February. So you know what? If you all have comments, suggestions, thoughts, how we can make this better, let us know. We want to know. We're going to put the work in regardless. So we want to make sure that we're getting you what you need, the range of things, the length of things. We did ask last time if one author talk was enough or would you like more? Most people said one's good. So you know what? We're here to serve you. We're here to help you as best we can. So we're going to finish up these 8 titles. And we haven't played one sound machine. We haven't done anything crazy, which makes me a little sad, but there's always time. So here I go. Next book, 8 left to go. And this one is The Note Through the Wire. This is the incredible true story of a prisoner of war and a resistance heroine. This is by Doug Gold. This is a trade paperback original with lots of black and white photographs. This is a true World War II story of love against the odds. It's nonfiction. It's ideal for fans of the tattooist of Auschwitz. In the heart of Nazi-occupied Europe, Josephine Lobnick is a Yugoslav resistance fighter, and Bruce Murray is a New Zealand soldier and a prisoner of war. When a crumpled note is passed between the two, slipped through the wire of the compound fence, it sets them on a course that will change their lives forever. This will appeal, as I say, to readers of wartime stories as well as World War II accounts about the resistance. This is a gripping, romantic story that covers an untold aspect of the war, the Slovenian resistance and the New Zealand participation in the Allied effort. This was a #1 bestseller in New Zealand. The author is a retired broadcaster in New Zealand, and this is the biography of his in-laws. And as I say, it was a New Zealand nonfiction bestseller list for weeks. And this is the true tale of his wife's parents, Josephine and Bruce, that celebrates their bravery, resilience, resistance, and love. There is a great Heather Morris, the author of The Tattooist of Auschwitz, calls it an unforgettable love story. What's important, I think, to know is that this is recommended for older age young adult readers. The hero is a POW. The woman is in the resistance, so not a concentration camp. And though this sounds terrible in a way, it may appeal because it has a romantic ending. The author has a terrific website with lots of information and a cool video too. So you can find all of that on Edelweiss. But this is a beautiful tale of bravery, daring escapes, betrayal, and love. And that is The Note Through the Wire by Doug Gold. Next. We Are Each Other's Harvest. This is celebrating African-American farmers, land, and legacy. So there's a farming crisis in America, but few understand how devastating this has been to America's Black farmers. In the 1920s, there were over 1 million Black farmers. Their dedication to the craft tackled predatory and restrictive loans from banks to earn a settlement of over $1 billion, the largest amount of money ever paid to citizens in a discrimination case. Today, there are just 45,000 Black farmers, a drop from 14% to just 1.3% of the national population. So as national conversations on reparations reach a high, African Americans' contribution to American agriculture becomes central to addressing economic disparity, issues of sustainability, food justice, Black land, land stewardship, climate change, and intergenerational wealth. This book showcases influential voices such as Clyde Ford and Michael Twitty, who wrote The Cooking Gene. This is Natalie Bazile. This is a beautifully photographed, full-color celebration of brown and Black farming in America. Natalie Bazile is the author of Queen Sugar, which was turned into this award-winning TV series that's being directed. There's a new series coming out, directed by Anna DuVernay. And this is a collection of first-person stories of farmers paired with influential voices like Toni Morrison, Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, Michael Twitty, as I mentioned. Their poetry, essays, interviews, and photographs. And it's a huge, huge undertaking. It's a huge project that is a celebration of African American farmers, their land, and their legacy. The author is also going to deliver a speech at the ALA Midwinter Conference. So we're very excited about that. As I said, there are wonderful photographs throughout. So this goes on sale in April 2021. Proud to have this on our list.
Okay, Good Night, Sweetheart by Pam Weaver, coming out in March. So another World War II historical book, but what's really unique about this one is it has a BIPOC component, and it looks at racism back during that time in both the U.S. and Europe. And in this story, we have Frankie, who, when her mother dies, she's sent to live with her aunt in rural Sussex. Life on their farm is really happy, and she's living her life, but then World War II breaks out, and she has to sign up to help her country. She's going to sign up and be in the women's branch of the British Army. And soon she meets Romera, an American doctor who has come to the UK after facing terrible racism at home. And trouble, it's bad, some ways better, but things are bubbling up under the surface. So a lot of racism is happening for both of them, and they both have very different experiences with it. And we ask, can love triumph over a history of hate? Or will Frankie and Romero's love pay the ultimate sacrifice? It's great for fans of Pam Jenoff, and ebook is already on sale. That is exciting. So you can already get that and access that. But it's nice because it also has romance elements. But the new twist on World War II, I always ask that, like, what is different about it? And that cover is so gorgeous because she's in color around a train station where no one else is. And that really, I think, says so much about the book and the content of stepping into a world where everything is not made for you. Okay, so that's Goodnight, Sweetheart by Pan Weaver. And next, I have Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend by Ben Phillip. So this is coming out in April, and this is award-winning YA author and screenwriter Ben Phillip. You might recognize him from The Field Guide to the North American Teenager, which won the 2020 William C. Morris Award, or Charming as a Verb. And this, Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend, is his first book of adult nonfiction. Ben is so funny. I urge you to just like Google him and see some videos of him talking, because his dedication in his Field Guide to the North American Teenager book went viral. It said, "To my mother, Belzy, I would have made a terrible doctor, Mom. People would have died." And so if that gives you a hint of what he's like, he's just so funny, but he can really balance darker themes with this funny book. And this book is no different. It's in the vein of What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker, or We Are Never Meeting in Real Life. It's a candid memoir and essays, and chronicles the lifetime of being the black friend, which you can substitute for other, being the female friend, being etc. In predominantly white spaces. So how you live that when the space is not made for you. And it's in an era which, I have many black friends. It's often the wokeness metal. And Ben hilariously just puts his experience in a larger scale about being on the receiving end of fist bumps. And he takes us through his immigrant childhood, from just wanting friends in general to going through college in the age of Obama and in this Trump administration, and what these two sides of America are like. But it's both light and heavy. So you're going to go between laughing and really heartfelt moments, but there are really blunt truths as well of like what it's like existing as a black man in America today. And there's going to be a library hardcover edition as well.
Okay, I think we have 3 titles left and then a few group slides. The English Wife by Adrienne Chen. So this is a novel, dual story, dual timeline novel that first takes place in a Victory Day in England in 1945. And you follow Ellie, who moved there to be with her Canadian husband, Thomas, who was missing in action. And she fears the worst, but actually finds out that her husband is back in Canada recovering from his injuries. And so she must make the trip across back to Canada to find the man she loves. But there are certain harsh realities of life in Canada that she cannot expect. And then you flash forward to September 11th, 2001, and her niece, Sophie, is on a plane to New York that, of course, with the tragedy that took place that day, the plane has to make an emergency landing in a tiny town in Newfoundland, where her estranged aunt, Ellie, now lives. And Ellie, of course, is hiding certain secrets. Why is she estranged? Why is she alone? And Sophie, through this chance encounter, chooses to try to get to the bottom of what has been haunting Ellie all these years. So this is very much for fans of Hazel Gaynor. It's a story of redemption and love and triumph, and just 2 really unforgettable characters whose lives are irrevocably intertwined. This is coming in February. That's The English Wife by Adrienne Chen. All right. Love this book, The Divines by Ellie Eaton. This is just a cool, stylish, emotionally powerful novel, coming-of-age novel, that takes place again in 2 different timelines, but it follows one young woman, Josephine, who went to this elite boarding school in England. It's called St. John the Divine. And the girls there were kind of bad. They smoked, they cussed, they chased boys, they did what they wanted to do. They were brilliant and sharp and loyal, but a certain violent tragedy took place at this school that ultimately shuttered it. And then all these years later, Josephine is now living in LA, and is kind of beginning to reckon with what happened all those years prior, kind of memories that she had suppressed, blurry recollections of certain of those final weeks that changed the community and their lives forever. And it's just a very fascinating exploration of young women turning to adulthood, of sexuality and female identity and friendship, and of course of class divide. It's a brilliant, stylish, chilling, elegant novel. You can see that Sarah Perry quote, which is great. I love Sarah Perry, and I think she captures that well there. Kim asked modern day plain bad heroines. There's not a fantastical element here, but it has that certain like literary voice. It's super sharp witted. So thanks for asking. This is coming in January. That's The Divines by Ellie Eaton.
Okay. Last book, Little and Often. Last book that I'm going to present, and then we're going to quickly go through some group slides. But this is the last actual presentation, and this is Little and Often. This is a memoir by Trent Presler. So this is the story of Trent Presler, who is a winemaker, and he also became a boat builder. And he recalls his complicated relationship with his estranged father in this lovely meditation on healing. So I just want to spend a hot second on this because it is a beautiful book, and it's already getting some wonderful reviews, which I'll share with you. But Trent Presler thought he was living his best life. He lived out on the North Fork of Long Island, and he's the CEO of a winery. He hadn't spoken to his father in 14 years. His father called him and said he had cancer. It had worsened, and he made a request. Would Trent come home to South Dakota for Thanksgiving? He was uncertain, but he went, and it would be the last time he saw his father alive. And after that, he tried not to let his father's death affect him, but there was a lot of anger and disappointment and unresolved issues. He was left overwhelmed by the things that weren't said. He was nearly 40. He was broken down, adrift, and alone. His father was a Vietnam vet, a cattle rancher, a rodeo champion, and he struggled to accept his son, Trent, as a gay man. When he died, he left Trent only one item, a toolbox, an inheritance that befuddled Trent. He wasn't the kind of man who worked with his hands, ever. But maybe that was the point, and with that came an epiphany. He would build something, and that something would be a wooden canoe, and he would complete it by the anniversary of his father's death, which he did. So this book captures the struggles and the triumphs of one man's maddening and unpredictable journey of self-discovery and healing. He learns the meditative rituals of woodworking, and he finds peace through a new life lived in communion with nature, and forgiveness through a newfound appreciation of the man who raised him. He built this boat in a year, and he did launch it on the anniversary of his father's death. He does continue to act as the CEO of Bedell Cellars, and that's nothing. It's quite the successful winery. The Obamas actually used the red wine at the inauguration. He's a very accomplished man. And there is a beautiful video on Edelweiss where you see him working on the boats, and you hear what he contemplates, what he's going through, thinking about his father. Why, what am I supposed to do with this toolbox? And then he just figures it out, and he really just comes to this moment where he does heal. And he, through meditation and through this, this beautiful relationship that he has with woodworking, which he had never done before. It's really beautiful. I'm just going to read you two. This is for readers of H is for Hawk. I just want to read two quick quotes. One is from, hang on, don't go away. Still don't go away. Where is my quote? I had it. That's not the quote I want. It's here it is. I'm sorry. Little and Often is a beautiful memoir of grief, Love, the shattered bond between a father and son and the resurrection of a broken heart. Trent Presler tells his story with the same level of art and craftsmanship that he brings to his boat making, and he reminds us of creativity's power to transform and heal our lives. This is a powerful and deeply moving book. I won't soon forget it. That is Elizabeth Gilbert. And Nick Offerman, Laney's fave, actor, New York Times bestselling author himself, says, an impressive memoir and a richly rendered tale. I thought, with relish, that I was getting a book about wood and tools, but the canoe built herein is merely the vessel carrying the buoyant narrative about a father and son, a mother and sister, love, hard work, wine, boats, and a dog. I may have grown misty at one point. That's Nick Offerman talking about this beautiful book, Little and Often, by Trent Presler. That goes on sale in April. That is the last book that we are presenting. But let's go through some group slides very, very quickly. We don't even really need to talk about them too much. You can see who they are, and the links are in the catalogs. But, this is Chris Gardner, Tiger Woods, Craig Melvin from the Today Show. I mean, it's neat stuff. Anybody want to say anything? Chris, Laney, you good?
Big books, American Daughter, Glass Castle, and in education. So yeah, just educated. Sorry, that's in that vein, and it's really great.
And Pursuit of Happiness was the Chris Gardner book. Okay, next. Oh, so many big books. I mean, we could talk about every single one of these books for forever, but hello, the collected works of Jim Morrison. Now, there's something special. So we're super excited to have this. Is a chock-a-block book. If you're a Jim Morrison fan, you are going to want to get that. We also have books by all your faves right here. Simon Winchester. Only Simon Winchester could write a book about land and make it super compelling and page-turning. Next. Dream Girl, Laura Lippman, Standalone, Love Ha, Beatrice Williams, Linwood Barkley, Kimberly McCrae, Susan Elizabeth Phillips. What's to say? Sally Thorne. And then if you have a book called Cheese, Wine, and Bread, you have to put that on there because we're hungry.
And Susan Elizabeth Phillips returning to Chicago Stars. So not a standalone, but everyone's excited.
Yeah. And Peter Swanson, who we love.
Mm-hmm. And definitely keep your eyes peeled for that Beatrice Williams. People are making some comparisons to Kate Quinn. Pretty propulsive, action-packed, but still with Beatrice, who is a master historical fiction author. So it's going to be a big, big book.
It is going to be a big, big book. And when will it be up on YouTube? Chris, when will you be putting this up on YouTube?
Right after the presentation.
There you go, Lisa. Right after the presentation. And we are just about done. Just some more big books. Taylor Adams, Hairpin Bridge. He's a great writer.
A good one.
Yeah. Anybody want to talk about any of these?
We Run the Tides was amazing. San Francisco in the 80s. Ben de la Vida.
If you all have questions, please do let us know. But we are just assuming that, you'll pick these up and you'll be able to figure this out. But we just want to okay, new normal. This is one thing we wanted to talk about very quickly. That we don't even know what to call this, the new normal. We were going to call it coping with COVID. I don't know. I don't know. It's just that everything is new. And so we just pulled out, there will be lots of books that everybody will be publishing about how to live in this world, this new world. And we don't know what the future looks like. And who knows what, working remotely looks like once there's a vaccine. Who knows? Will people be going back to work? Will some people be working remotely forever? Maybe. You never know. But there are books here that might scratch the itch. So, Laney?
Yeah, so Remote Inc., that is all about whether you worked from home before, you're going to be working from home, how you can excel and thrive working remotely, and how to use different habits and tech tools to think of yourself as a business of one and have an entrepreneurial mindset. So that one's really I think, going to be helpful just practically.
And Life on the Line, Emma Goldberg is a New York Times reporter, and this is an account of the medical students who received their degrees early, specifically to help the thousands of people being treated for COVID in New York City. So it's a gripping, at times heartbreaking, just honest account of what they've gone through and the things they've sacrificed to help people in need. Very eye-opening.
And The New Normal by Jennifer Ashton. She is the chief medical correspondent for ABC News, as well as a board-certified doctor and nutritionist in OBGYN and obesity medicine. And she's co-host of a show, Pandemic, What You Need to Know. And this book tackles the questions that's been on the minds of so many Americans. How do I get back to normal when the world outside is anything but? Lots of easy to follow practical advice, giving readers tools on how to remain resilient, dealing with psychological impacts of spending months at home, how to improve your health, to lower your own personal risk, just how to shore up your, sort of your resilience and your immunity, and how to cut through the noise of the latest quote unquote study to understand how to really protect yourself and your family. She offers a holistic roadmap to surviving the continued challenges of the pandemic. And so these are just a couple of books that we thought we should put up here, and hopefully they will help and address issues that arise with you and or your patrons. Next. Gin o'clock. What time is it now? Is it gin o'clock yet? Also, Nigella Lawson. How exciting is that? We do a lot of cookbooks, and some address, certain, gluten-free, and we have lots of cookbooks that address different issues, but there are lots of cookbooks that are just damn delicious. And sea, salt, and honey. Yes, please. Anyway, you can click on all of these, and but Gin O'Clock, that's gonna be my go-to. It's yes, Laura Pearl. It's always Gin O'Clock. Lenni, do you want to talk about romance?
Oh, do I ever? These are just a handful of what great things we have coming. But we have so many more in our catalog below. And also someone said something about sci-fi fantasy. We have a sci-fi fantasy catalog on Edelweiss. So go there and you can see those different breakdowns. But this one right here below is for romance. And Beverly Jenkins, we love her. Third in the Talia Hibbert's series of the Brown sisters. You can read them separately. And this one, I think, was, it was just amazing. I didn't know she gets better and better every one, and I loved it. First Come Like Modern Love series, Alicia Rye, who is on TikTok and is hilarious if anyone wants to go see our videos. And Love Square, Laura Jane Williams, we love her, UK rom-com author. Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention is, because we are going so ridiculously crazy fast, but we have to because we're over. But and somebody did mention, I thought we probably should take 1 second just to talk about the Kathy Wang book. She's the author of The Family Trust, which came out, I think, in 2019. And her new book is called Imposter Syndrome, and that comes out in June. And it's set in the Silicon Valley, as was Family Trust, which was a huge bestseller. And this is about the cutthroat world of women in tech through the lens of a thrilling tale of espionage and secrets. It's a real cat and mouse game, and it's this satire because she does that very well. And women in tech in the Silicon Valley. I mean, what could be better? So if you, it's great for book clubs because it touches on topics that will be relatable to many readers: marriage, finding a balance between work and childcare, finding success in a male-driven industry, and the pressure on women to quote unquote have it all. So that is it's called Imposter Syndrome by Kathy Wang, W-A-N-G. Somebody said they couldn't find it on, maybe it's not up yet because it's a June book, but it will be up. So yeah, fear not. Somebody said there are still over 1,000 of us in here, and that should tell you something, presenters. Woohoo! That tells me it's time to blow some horns. All right, Chris, you better have your sound machine, do you? Did you pack it?
Oh.
All right, okay. Here it is. Thank you all. Thank you. Please, please, please. Try the veal. Can we put our faces back up?
Let's do it. Let's see.
Do it.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you. The podcast is great. Thank you. That's very nice.
The podcast is awesome, you guys. Lainey's got some really great stuff up there. So definitely check out the podcast, that interview. I guess it's an interview. It's really like a conversation between Ann Patchett and Kevin Wilson, which was done last February, but it's just, they didn't even know what they were going to talk about. They were just like, so what are we going to talk about? The next thing you know, it was like, I feel like I'm sitting at their kitchen table, but I can't make a noise. Really good. Really cool. I talk about how they write and when they write, how they met each other, and he used to walk with dogs. It's pretty cool. So, and Chris did this great interview with Rahman Alam. Please come and see him on Tuesday. It's going to be so cool. I can't wait. And Spooky Reads. When are we doing Spooky Reads? The last Tuesday in October.
Yeah.
Okay. Just made that up. I will stay right here through lunch. This is awesome. Monica, when did Monica write that? Monica probably logged off and said, I'm done with these guys.
10 o'clock for her.
10 o'clock. Yes. So I think that's it. I'm pretty happy that we got all of this in, you guys. And anybody want to say any parting words or?
Well, no, I don't have any parting words.
Well, just thank you for being here, everyone. It was, we had fun talking. And
all right, so I think maybe we have to extend this to 2 hours because it's too much to try and do this in an hour and a half. We do want to hear from you all, though. Please let us know. Send us an email. You have our contact info right there. You're not going to hurt our feelings if you say you didn't do enough of this, or we'd love to hear more of this, or do it for 2 hours and not for an hour and a half. We could start later so West Coasters can, take advantage of that. We understand times are continually changing. In the beginning, everybody was home. Nobody was going to the library. Nobody was going to their offices. Now it's different. We understand. Thankfully, it's different. So we all thank you so much for taking the time. We know there'll be a lot to do, a lot of books out there. And we appreciate your listening to us. And we really wish you health, good health. Without it, we're screwed. So just stay healthy, And I know we're all trying. Always sounds crazy to say, wash your hands, wash your hands. We know. We just wish you all good health. That's all. Chris and Lainey and I. We love you all. Should we end with share? What should we do?
Yeah.
Oh, Lee B says she'll sign up for 2 hours. Are there any comments that we should be looking at? Is there anybody? Oh, and vote. Yes, Lisa, vote. Vote. We're our favorite group. Thank you, Laura Pearl. It's 10 o'clock. Vote. How great was Kamala? I'm just saying, I shouldn't say anything, but she was great. Yes, are there quotes? Love that it went over. I live on the East Coast, but I don't mind starting later. So thank you, Lynn Reynolds is thinking of her West Coast colleagues and saying she could start it a little bit later so the West Coasters can, listen in. Awesome. Then we will definitely put that into our till. 2 hours works. 2 hours works. Great. More of everything. Barbara Jenko, you're a doll. Thank you. We appreciate all your work on this. Thank you. And we appreciate your taking the time to listen to us. We really do. Start later. We're going to start later for the West Coasters. It looks like people were so into the 2 hours. How are you guys feeling about one author versus two? Probably one, right? So that we can keep on going with the books. It worked out pretty good. But let us know. You have enough fiction? Do you have enough nonfiction? I don't know. My coffee ran out long ago. Happy 10 o'clock, friends. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Jennifer Eagle. Kate Dunbeck. Hi. Spookiness. Yes. Spooky. Spooky Reads. What's the date? Anybody know? First Tuesday and the last week of October.
That sounds
Um,
good.
And how great is Russell Banks?
First Tuesday, the last Tuesday is the 27th.
27th Spooker Reads. Ooh. Wait it. Oh, that's a burp. Hang on. Wait.
Impressive.
It's going to be a lot of that during Spooky Reads. If you've asked questions and we haven't addressed them, we will go through all of this and get back to you. Okay, you wouldn't mind 1 hour sessions broken up like mystery, historical fiction, fantasy. Okay, well, can we sign up for Spooky Reads? Where can they sign up for Spooky Reads?
Just follow us on Facebook or social because you will see us promoting it there. And the 27th, Facebook Live. That's where we'll be at 2 p.m. probably.
Little
We'll be
more
sending a
work.
follow-up to everyone with details on what's around the bend. We'll reach out
Yeah.
about the Ramon Alam, Facebook Live, the Anthony Horowitz. You can put them all on your calendar.
I'm telling you, read this book. It's so good. Leave the world behind. Oh, homesick today, says Rachel Towell. We hope you feel better, and we're glad that this cheered you up. A little more romance? Okay, we can work on that. See, we don't cry. We want to help you.
Oh, talk about more romance. Twist my arm. Okay.
Well, I think this is it. I hate to say goodbye to everybody, but I don't know. I guess we have to. You guys are frozen. Am I frozen?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Take us out, Cher. Crank it up, Lenni. Nice and loud. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Love you. Thank you. Oh, you people are